And down the stretch they come. No, that wasn't Eddie Olczyk calling the Haskell Stakes last weekend on NBC. I think that was a gentleman by the name of Dave Johnson who made that famous line, maybe during a Kentucky Derby a long, long time ago. But that's the feeling that we get now coming into this Monday in what is, less than 6 full days away from dropping the puck for real. The National Hockey League. How many doubters, how many people out there really thought that this had a chance? Come on, not many of you. And I got to tell you, watching the NHL release their video a few days ago of what we all can expect out of the hub, I must say was pretty impressive. Now, I have no idea what the final tab will be on all of this. And some have suggested to me that the league presented in the ballpark of $30 to $50 million. But I got to think after watching everything that we have seen so far coming out of the hubs, that price tag might be even higher than that. It's also my understanding that the league, the players aren't on the 50% cut line in terms of contributing to this. This is predominantly the league's idea. It's their money. Yeah, they'll write off a few things on deductions, I'm sure, out of HRR. But at the end of the day, this is the league's commitment now to make sure that they complete a season and present a Stanley Cup in 2020. I had a chance to talk to a couple of players that were checking into the hotel, and they were as equally as impressed. The moment they walked into the hotel, they were met by a hygiene nurse and a doctor. And they knew exactly what was going on. They knew when they wanted to get tested. A test was conducted right away. Both nostrils swabbed. And within, 15 minutes, they had results. So everything looks like it's on course to actually get this thing going. So we got a ton of stuff today. I can't wait to get into it. We're also going to be able to tee up those qualifying series throughout this week. So as early as today, we'll talk about Montreal and Pittsburgh, and then we'll dive into Edmonton and Chicago. But prior to that, we also got some interesting news on the weekend. And to get into that, plus so much more, I got another guy who's coming into this week with tremendous momentum, a terrific debut in his training camp last week on a PTO. And I don't want him to get too excited just yet because decisions have not been finalized, but it's still looking pretty good for Doug Maclean. Now, where are you this time? Every time I go to you, you got a new location. Where are you now?
Well, I'm in my son's bedroom because Clark has moved to his new cottage. So I'm in my new studio here for all the shows that I have such demand on my time that I thought I better build my own studio. So I'm just starting it, and we'll take it slow and add as time goes on.
I'm a little jealous because you've got a jersey hung up before I do in my studio here, and I see a number 7, Toronto Maple Leafs. Do I think Gary Roberts, Lanny McDonald, and early in his career?
No, that is actually a autographed Tim Horton jersey that is on the wall, and it's been there for a long time, but it's pretty unique. And as one of our producers said on this show, did Tim Horton play hockey? I thought he was just a donut guy. No, Tim Horton's in the Hall of Fame, Joe. Come on.
I think that was Jordan. I think that was Jordan. But that kind of tells us how old we are here.
I know.
So don't bring that up. Stop bringing that up on the show. And maybe it's only fitting because Tim was a teammate of Eddie Shack's, and sad to report this weekend that Eddie lost his battle with throat cancer.
Yeah.
And we lost one of hockey's biggest characters, didn't we, Doug?
You know what? I was such a Leafs fan in the golden era of the Leafs when they won their Stanley Cups, and Eddie Shack was a special, special guy. And then I got an opportunity to see him a lot on TV, on radio, watch him on TV, see him or listen to him on radio when he put his book out this past year. And you know what? It amazes me that he passed because he seemed so vibrant, so full of life, so excited about this new book that Ken Reed and he had done together. So it really sort of caught me off guard when I heard this past week that he was in palliative care and really struggling. So sad news for all hockey fans.
Well, one of my earliest memories was watching Eddie Shack on the ice as a Toronto Maple Leafs. He had that famous turtleneck. And then there was also a famous scene when I think it was against the St. Louis Blues, maybe in the early 70s, where they literally were chasing him all over the ice trying to catch him.
Well, the Plager brothers were Bob Plager, Barclay Plager. I mean, they wanted a piece of him bad. Eddie was actually dancing on his blades. And I mean, I'm telling you what, this guy could score. I mean, he scored a Stanley Cup winning goal. This guy played on 6 different NHL teams. Not only was he tough, but he also was a 20 goal scorer on 6 different franchises. So unbelievable entertainer, though. I remember him as a kid watching him. Like, he'd take the puck end to end. He'd go around the same guy. He was like pond hockey for Eddie Shack, the way he played the game. So it was pretty unique and fun to watch.
Well, we know what hockey and cancer, the last few years, the NHL has done a tremendous job of raising money along with the Players Association. We also know another one of our favorites, Dale Howardchuk, continues to battle with his ailment of stomach cancer. So we wish him all the best going into this week as well. So in saying that, Mac, we look at the hub now. The big thing was what we thought maybe 2 weeks ago was, come on, you're not gonna get the players to sit still for 2 months and not leave their room. But it is crystal clear here. You are not allowed to go. It is truly a bubble that they created. You look at the walkway now, and I saw one out of Toronto that leads you right to the Scotiabank Arena from your hotel that no one else has access to. I can't tell you how impressed I am. And when I compare it to what I'm seeing out of Major League Baseball, I think the NHL's year lights ahead of those guys.
Yeah. They really stepped it up. I mean, look, they were aggressive. I thought they handled it well. I thought they were unbelievably well organized from day one as to how they were going to execute this. That the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and they are guaranteeing it's going to be as safe as possible. They've discussed it with medical people all the way through, experts all the way through. I've been really impressed too. And then as they add more things, lounges for individual teams, where they can watch the other games. Then there's been some mention about golf maybe involved. Then there's mention of the families coming as the series progress, being allowed. So look, they've really done their homework, and you're 100% right. It is extremely, extremely making the players feel confident when they continually hear about this. So I think it's it's got a chance. Now the media, of course, are not happy because they want it to be in there, and that's caused a little bit of a storm this week. If I might mention it, they've been writing about it.
That's great. They want to be in there, but
sure,
who's going to test them every day?
Well, here's right? What they're telling me. The NBA reporters are in their bubble, and they're eating with the players, and whatever else goes on. $35,000 per newspaper, per radio station to put a media person in the NBA bubble. So you've got the Canadian media, the U.S. hockey media. Are they going to, number one, fly them in on private jets, which was mandated by the NHL? Are they going to? Is each newspaper going to pay $35,000 per person for testing, accommodations, food? It's a big nut with the way the newspaper business is struggling. So who knows?
They better be lucky.
We're going to miss them there.
They better be lucky in their own studios that they get pizza between games. That's what they should be focused on.
But, oh, man, they're not happy about it. They are not happy about it. So it'll be interesting to watch how the media handle it. And, look, if we were, with the written media or the, whatever media, we would like to be in there too. No denying that.
The other thing too is they had their NHL chief content officer, Steve Mayer, talking about what fans can expect in the game and how each game will actually have a different look. So we know about all the monitors up, the stage, the fans, video fans chanting what they've been accustomed to hearing during home games. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this is all great, but if the games suck, nobody gives a crap, right? About all the bells and whistles.
No. Did you see the baseball hit today where the guy hit the home run and he took the head off the cardboard guy in the back? In the back. So, it'll be interesting when the pucks start flying. But anyway, look, you can be assured that the game ops people have really got this set up. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised what we see from a game production. But it all is going to come back to what you just mentioned, Nick. Quality of play. How close is it going to be to the Stanley Cup? And also, will teams adapt differently to this setup with no fans? Does it affect certain players more than others? Does it even have any effect? Does it affect the fact they don't have to meet with the media after games? They don't have to, does it affect them that the fans aren't real? It'll be interesting how teams adapt to that as well.
Won't we really know in the first 10 minutes of what we can expect from here on in? Like, look, for me, it's all about the first 10 minutes. I want to see where the intensity is. I want to see someone running somebody through the boards. I want to see someone crashing the net, getting in faces. Will the intensity look no different than it did in the first round of last season?
Well, look, it's always the best round. We know that. It to me, is always the most exciting, the most upset. So it's going to be really interesting. Everybody I've talked to that's with a team have been blown away by the way they have looked. Small camp, 30 people, guys, getting their team down, getting it ready to go. They're all raving. I'm talking Vancouver Canucks think they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. You talk to the Edmonton Oilers people, they think they have a legitimate shot. Chicago believe they have a chance to knock it. I mean, everybody is coming into this feeling pretty good about their team right now. So it'll be fun to watch. And I think we're going to see intensity. I really do.
All right. Speaking of hygiene nurses meeting all the players as they entered the hotel, I bring up the name Elliot Friedman. Is there anyone that needs a hygiene nurse more than that guy right now?
I heard that's one of the reasons they wouldn't let the media into the bubble, because of how he looked.
I'm
kidding, Elliot.
Yeah, we're always kidding, Elliot. Hygiene aside for Elliot, he did speak on the weekend about another team approaching the Coyotes for the services of Chayka. Now, Chayka had 4 years left on his contract. Who goes and shops for a new team when they've got 4 years left on the table?
When they think they're in trouble, when they think they've done something they shouldn't have done, and there's a chance they may get fired. And I suspect that Chayka had some fire under his feet after what had been happening with the league.
And we know this story broke as early as January. I think Darren Drager first reported that there was a fitness testing prospect violation. You're not supposed to do that till after, I guess, the NHL Combine or after the draft. Right. And we do know, Mac, that for each violation, we're talking about some serious money here. So could it be that John Chayka just read the tea leaves and knew one way or another he was done?
Well, at the same time as this was going on, there was an ownership change in Arizona. And when the word was on the street that it could be up to $5 million, the fines, anywhere from $1 million to $5 million. So, a new ownership situation in Arizona, a challenge from the league as to these violations. Sure, he was feeling some heat. So what happens? What does he do? It is bizarre to me as to what has come out or what has transpired in the last few days with respect to this. So something strange is going on here.
Mac, we've been around a long time here. I haven't been around as long as you, but you've seen it at an executive position here. Have you ever in your life seen press releases when a team calls a general manager a quitter and how disappointed they are in him? It's crazy.
First of all, other than maybe Mike Keenan, you typically don't go looking for a job when you have one. We know Mike had a little problem with that at times. Once in a while, he had a little problem with that. But look, these two press releases were unbelievable. I've never seen anything remotely close, where an ownership group says the general manager quit on us and we didn't like his actions. Then the GM in his release said, ownership basically forced me into this situation. Two sides, obviously there's some severe bitterness going on, but to see these two releases that are this style and this vague but making very pointed accusations, interesting to say the least.
Should we be surprised? Like, how long has this black cloud been over this organization? For how many years? It's just crazy. And let's go back to when they hired Chayka. And for the most part, people in our industry are good people and they wish people well. But there's something that kind of rubbed people the wrong way when Chayka came out of nowhere at age 26. And at the time, if I'm not mistaken, became the youngest GM in major sports history at 26. And you know how it's like, Mac. You know, for the most part, anybody that really works their way up in the ranks as an executive pretty much has to start from the bottom and prove their way up. With Chayka, you know that there were some eyes rolling. And I use the analogy of being at Disneyland before COVID. And you're waiting 3 hours for the roller coaster. And here comes some guy with a shit-ass grin who's got a free pass or a speed pass, and he goes right by you, and you're sitting there going, what the? Like, that's almost the feeling it was when Chayka first got his title at 26.
And also the fact that he replaced Don Maloney, who was his boss, and Maloney left there and not under the greatest terms, and also accusations pointed directly at Chayka, you know, when Don left and obviously eventually joined the Calgary Flames. So, look, I know John Chayka a little bit. I've talked to him a few times, but I don't dislike the guy. But this is not typically as to how things happen. Typically, you get fired. Typically, you move on. Typically, it ends like that, not with quitting, not with, management ownership saying they didn't like his actions, and him in turn saying they forced me into it, ownership, with the way they're acting. So what is going on in Arizona? I remember when Anthony LeBlanc was the president, he used to come on Hockey Central at noon with us, and I would say, here comes more fairy tales from Anthony LeBlanc, because it was like, oh, we're doing great, we're making money, the fans are turning out, and I'm thinking, I'm missing something here. So this has been a cloud for a long time.
There's our guess, at least mine, is that he's got something that would easily make him walk away from those extended years on his contract. So is it Buffalo? Will he go from one gong show to another? Can you believe he would leave that to go to Buffalo?
Well, look, we also have to be a little careful. Rumors were when he went there what his salary was, and it wasn't a typical GM salary. Has that improved in this latest deal? I suspect it has, but is it anywhere close to what other GMs are making? So the Buffalo thing is he's from near that area. They are in disarray. They put Kevin Adams in as a rookie GM with limited experience. I like Kevin. He's a good guy. He was a good player. But he's totally inexperienced in this GM's job, and people have been shaking their heads since he went in there. I hope he does well. Does Chayka come in some management role with Kevin? That's what it seems to indicate, at least as far as Elliot Friedman's report was concerned.
Well, and you just wonder, and there's no question, Mac, we've seen teams put their neck out on the line. Chayka in 2016. Kyle Dubas in Toronto. A lot of people rolling their eyes at that one. And I can tell you that, the people that I talk to, watching Kyle Dubas in the last few years has really changed. And even Chayka. Chayka's matured in the last few years, and I hear a lot of good things about dealing with him. Right. And he's a good guy. Kyle Dubas, I think people thought he came in rather cocky and arrogant, didn't want to deal with them. There was talk about, Lou Lamoriello rubbing Lou the wrong way, all of that. But again, it just seems to me that Kyle Dubas has actually come a long way in a very short period of time. Say what you will about his salary cap or signing Tavares or Matthews to those big contracts. It just seems to me that he's matured a lot. And in many ways, I think eaten some humble pie a little bit with the pressure of being a general manager. But some of these teams that want to put their neck out on the line for inexperienced guys, it's tough, isn't it?
Well, look, I mean, Kyle Dubas comes into one of the toughest jobs in professional sports to be the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, also replacing, as you said, Lou Lamoriello, a legend in the game. But you know what? The general manager's job can humble you really fast. So Dubas gets a tough situation. Arizona, not even remotely close. I mean, tough because of fan support and tough because of ownership challenges and money. But two different situations, but two very similar young guys that are trying to make their mark in the NHL. And I agree with you. I happen to like Kyle. I think he's a good, solid guy. Lots to learn, but he's working his way through it, and he's a good guy. And same with Chayka. I mean, you don't wish these guys any bad luck, but there's a lot of people with a smirk on their face in the league today, let me tell you.
Oh boy, I tell you what too. And hey, if Chayka goes to Buffalo or anywhere else, the label of quitter isn't one that you can easily shake off.
That's for sure.
Oh, wow.
That's for sure. Well, I didn't quit at Sportsnet, by the way.
No. You got booted out. How about that? No.
I was I was too expensive for them. Let's be honest.
Hey, your contract expired, and then poof, you disappeared. Guess who else's contract is expired? And we're not sure if he's going to go away.
Right.
Dale Talon in Florida has no contract, and there's no talk about getting him renewed. I can't believe right now, and the feeling is, Doug, that perhaps Dale Talon's future could rely on how the Florida Panthers do in this 24-team tournament. Is that possible? Ownership in Florida wants to see the results of a 4-month shutdown in a men's league, albeit the best men's league in the world coming up. And that's how they're going to decide whether they want Dale Hunter or Dale Talon to continue being the general manager. Is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible. And anything's possible with that group. And look, it's been a charade for a number of years, and it's had its challenge when Gerard Gallant left, when Dale got pushed aside, Dale got brought back. Now Dale's on the Pronger, leaves under strange circumstances. He's supposed to be in training to be the GM there, and now he's gone. So Dale is in limbo. And really, if they're telling you that your future relies on how you do against the New York Islanders in a series, that would indicate that they really would like to make a change. Eric Joyce is a name I continually hear, who's a vice president of hockey operations. He's an assistant GM. He was with them in Portland. He's the name that seems to be out there. So what happens with Dale Talon, a hockey lifer, who I happen to respect and like. So it'll be interesting, but It doesn't surprise me in the least.
Well, a veteran, an NHL well-respected guy, really looks like Florida's hanging him out to dry right now.
As I said, nothing would surprise me.
All right.
But I still like getting tickets if I have to go to a game.
All right. Well, listen, we know what's going on, at least with Chayka. He's out in Arizona. What we don't know right now still is where the league stands on all of this. We do know they went through a thorough investigation in terms of what happened, which prospects were interviewed, how they were tested. And yet we have not heard any official word from there. My understanding is that we could hear something by the end of the week, that it is the league's best interest to close this matter before puck drop August 1st. And why is that, Mac? Because if the Arizona Coyotes end up losing in the first round, they are still eligible for the first pick overall. The question is, where does the league stand on the violations for the fitness prospects? Is it, i.e., a fine? And I think you've mentioned each violation could go up to $5 million, or is it draft picks? And we're not talking 7 or 8 round picks. We're talking first picks, the cornerstone of any franchise moving forward. So this needs to get addressed, Mac, and it should happen rather quickly.
Yeah, for sure. It's gotta happen because, as you said, they have a 12.5% chance to win the first overall pick if they lose in the first round of the National Predators, or the play-in round. So, yeah, it's got to get resolved.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Why don't we start diving in a little bit, Mac, with some hardcore analysis out of the great Doug Maclean. Where do you want to start first? You want to go Pitt, Montreal?
Well, I think we have to. I think we have to because we've got, obviously the great Sid Crosby, Malkin, Price. We've got, some marquee type guys. And, it's an interesting matchup, Nick. It is. You've got Montreal, who've struggled recently. We've got Pittsburgh, who have had just the worst year you could ever have from an injury perspective. And now you've got both teams healthy. And what is going to transpire? I mean, just off the top, you look at the style of play. Montreal are a run and gun team to a degree. They throw a ton of rubber at the net. And they're typically basically a one and done team around the paint. They don't go to the net. They don't create off the cycle. It's a rush team, and they're fancy, and they don't want to play in the real dirty areas. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, with the marquee stars, play really good defensively. They shut down their blue line. They hold their blue line really well. They create off the rush, but they're more of a cycle team where they get the puck against Montreal's blue line and cycle and work that way. So you've got some different dynamics as style of play. One and done with Montreal. They got to change that if they're going to have any success. Pittsburgh, a real good cycle team led by Crosby and Malkin. So, you know what? I don't know that it's going to be a close series, but 3 out of 5 is always real exciting because if you lose game 1, you're in big trouble.
I look at Claude Julien, and at times I think he tries so hard to try to up his style of play, as you said. But I think he'll always be that guy that wants to get out his fourth line with 3 minutes to go, whether he's up or down, or it doesn't matter. And I think it's fine when you're winning Stanley Cups, Mac, and you've got Gregory Campbell and you got Daniel Paille and Thornton, but this team doesn't have even a legitimate NHL fourth line. And I don't know at the end of the day whether or not we'll even see remotely Claude Julien try to run and gun here. It'll be sad, I think, quite frankly, to see the Montreal Canadiens go down so quickly if he doesn't find a way to have a better balance and hope and pray that Carey Price can steal it.
Think about this. Claude Julien loves matchups. I mean, when he was coaching the Boston Bruins, he was a matchup specialist. He loves to match his defense pairs. He loves to match his forward. So have a look at their center. Danault, number 1 center. Kokoniemi, number 2 center with the way he's played in camp. Looks pretty good. Number 3 center, Suzuki. You go to the Pittsburgh Penguins, you go number 1 center, Crosby. Number 2 center, Malkin. Number 3 center, McCann. That doesn't look like a fair matchup to me down the middle, which is pretty critical.
Which brings me up the point of Crosby now, and he did not practice all last week, and there is a sense that he will be ready, but I'm sitting there going, if you can't beat them without Crosby, then you're in big trouble anyway. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't even play him if I knew that he was in a situation where he was only 70 or 75% Mac. I think
So
Malkin and McCann are enough to, and obviously the depth that you have should be enough.
he didn't skate in their last practice before they headed for the bubble, as you said. That would make me, is it caution, or is he, obviously he's not 100%.
No.
So that will be a major question. And then, after we talk about their center ice, but then you look, Gensel, 100% healthy, former 40 goal scorer, had 20 goals this year and missed half the season. You got Hornquist, who still contributes well. Rust is coming off a great season. Taneff's a grinder. They've got a nice mix up front. So it'll be real interesting to see, how the matchups with the inexperience of Montreal. Now, we know Danault is a real good shutdown guy. He's one of the best in the NHL. Danault will go against one of the big boys. We know that.
Oh, my goodness.
Then you've got...
And who's going up against the other big boy?
Yeah. Tough matchup.
Really tough matchup.
And
tough.
And Danault with Gallagher and Tatar is their number one line. That's the Montreal Canadiens number line. Then you throw in Domi and Drouin, he's 100%, and Byron, and you go down the list. I mean, it as you alluded to, it gets pretty thin when they get to that third and a half and fourth line. So look, it's going to be real interesting. The one positive thing I like, they've got the Sherratt Weber pair that have become an excellent shutdown pair down the stretch. Sherratt, 6'3", 225. We know how big and powerful Weber is. Can they and Danault do the job against the big boys in Pittsburgh? It's going to be fun to see. But after the same on the back end, after Petrie, it starts to drop off really fast on the back end in Montreal. Pittsburgh, not a great back end, but still with Letang and people like that, they look pretty good.
Assume Matt Murray's the guy. Jari's come in and actually played really well.
Yeah.
There is some talk that, Matt Murray could be on his way out. The feeling is now that he won't get a long-term deal, but you assume that you have to go with Matt Murray off the bat.
Well, you would think so. Matt Murray had a very average season at best, and Jari was better than he was for the most part. So, it'll be an interesting question, but I agree with you. I think Murray gets the start. There's, in my opinion, he gets the start, unless they've really soured on him. And if they did sour on him during the season, maybe the 3 months off, the 145 days maybe has mellowed Coach Sullivan and Rutherford with Murray. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. Pretty hard not to give him the ball to at least start against Montreal and hope his game is there. They'll have a better feel because they've watched him every day in their practices. So it'll be interesting to see. But Jari's right there, and he's ready to come in and play. So they got a pretty good 1-2 combination if Murray has regained his game.
Listen, there's struggling teams or teams in transition. We assume Montreal is one of them, but that doesn't mean that they get the same treatment from their fan base or the same patience from other fan base. If you're Bergevin, if you're Claude Julien here, what's a successful best of 5 here? Winning 1 game, even if you lose 3, if they're ultra competitive and you see growth, is that enough for this organization? Because for many it is. I'm just not sure about the Montreal Canadiens.
What is the dream scenario here? Is they play their tails off. The guys they expect to grow, the Kokaniemis and some of these guys become better players. They lose the series and they get the first pick overall and they get Lafreniere. That's what Bergevin is dreaming about. No denying that. And many other fans are dreaming that. Coach Julien, on the other side, really wants to win this series. He's not worried about Lafreniere, but maybe he should be. But that's the ultimate experience that would go positively for the Montreal Canadiens, in my opinion.
All right, so Let's get down to it. Does Montreal win a game in this series?
I've got it in 4 games, and I've got Pittsburgh winning it. There's still, you know what, Pittsburgh or not. Look, let's not forget here, Nick. Pittsburgh lost 4 straight last year in the first round to the New York Islanders. They're not right now close to the Stanley Cup team we saw a few years ago. So it may be closer than we think. I've got Pittsburgh winning the series.
I'm hearing Malkin's ready, man. I hear really good things about Malkin.
Yeah. I'll tell you a guy to watch. One other name, Marino, defenseman out of Harvard, played this past season in Pittsburgh, 50-plus games. Looks like he's got a chance to be a real good point producer, and Letang is still producing. So there's still some good-looking players in that team.
He's going to be carrying that blue line in 2 years from now.
Big time. I mean, a lot people love the way this guy has carried himself.
Love.
Yeah.
All right, so you got Montreal going down in 4 games. I'll take Pitt on the sweep.
Okay. You've been,
I picked St. Louis to win the Stanley Cup last September, buddy. Okay?
And you picked Carolina 3 years ago before when they didn't make the playoffs.
You don't remember shit 3 years ago. Please. You don't even remember what you had for breakfast this morning.
If Hartford would have been in the league, you would have picked them to win the cup, So anyway.
All right, let's go out west. We got Edmonton and Chicago. Chicago's one of those teams, Mac, where do they think they're better than they really are? Are they really better than we think that they are?
Look, you go through their roster and you say, okay, just a minute, 450 playoff games amongst their group, 3 Stanley Cups for their big boys, Kane, Taves, Keith, Crawford, Seabrook. We're not sure whether he's going to play, but Kane, Taves, you just can't say it's not going to be a series here. If I'm Edmonton, I'm a little bit nervous. It's the kids versus the vets. And I just can't. I have a hard time writing off Chicago. Look, I watched them play a lot this past winter. They weren't very good. They couldn't defend to save their life. They give up a ton of scoring chances. They give up a ton of high-quality scoring chances. One of their top pairs at the end of the season was Cuckoo and Mata.
Yeah.
Playing in excess of 20 minutes a game. Are you kidding me? Cuckoo couldn't play in Tampa, and Mata is
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care what you think of Seabrook from here on in. Him being unfit for this start is a loss.
Yeah.
I got to think with his experience and the ability to still go out there and possibly play a good hockey game, which he's still capable of. I mean, can he bring it every night? No. Is foot speed an issue? Yes. But don't tell me that they're not going to miss Seabrook at all in the dressing room, preparing off the ice, on the ice. That's a loss.
Look, their defense, obviously Murphy has been okay. Keith is still the big name. Gilbert is a kid that's come in and played pretty well for them, but they're just not. They just don't play good enough team defense right now. So it'll be interesting. And Seabrook, we know he's slowed down, but he's still got the smarts. But this is a dynamite speed team that they're going against. So it's going to be the vets that are a little bit slower. Don't underestimate the kids in Chicago too, Nick, if we're staying with Chicago, because, they've got some kids.
The Brinket's the real deal.
The Brinket off year this year, but this guy had 40 and 30 goals the last couple of years and ended up this year with 20-plus goals. A little bit of an offseason, but we know he's a real deal. Strome has come in and played well. Sod is a useful player. What about the kid that's up for the Calder Trophy that had 30 goals this year? And I mean, this is Kubalik is a really good-looking 6'2", 215-pound winger who gives them a really good look up front. So they've got some youngsters too in Chicago. So it'll be real interesting to see vets, good young kids in Chicago, a blue line that makes me real nervous, but the same as Montreal, Nick. if Carey Price stands on his head for Montreal, and if Crawford can stay healthy, can get the job done, Chicago will not be an easy out against a team in Edmonton that's damn good right now.
Yeah, I found it so interesting, and I know you talked about the media not being allowed in the buildings, but you know they made a big deal out of protecting the players' COVID results. And then you got Corey Crawford coming out and say, "Yeah, I had it. I had it."
I love it.
So we're gonna have some that want to tell you, and then some that don't.
Time.
So,
but look, Corey Crawford is a guy. Nick, he was real good this year. He was real good, and I mean, look, can he come in and do a job here? That would be, if he's on top of his game like he was in January or mid-season, then that can maybe change the series. Much like Montreal, they're close with their goaltending. Both can be, both are capable of winning a series. So we'll see.
Yeah, and just for the record too, Corey volunteered his medical records, so there is a policy in place where the players have the choice, and if they choose to tell people publicly, then they're fully supported, and that's the story with Corey Crawford, and that's why you heard Corey's results. But others, if they want to keep it confidentially from a legal point of view, they absolutely have that right. Okay, let's move it on to Edmonton a little bit.
Just one final thing. If Crawford can't go, I'm not comfortable with Subban getting the job done. So there,
no question, it's go big or go home with Corey Crawford. And speaking of going big, is there anybody bigger in the league than Connor McDavid?
Talked to a guy this morning and who's watched a fair amount of their training camp.
Faster than ever?
Saying it's pardon?
Faster than ever?
They said they believe he is going to terrorize the playoffs this year with how he looks. And when you hear that coming from hockey people, if I'm Chicago and I'm, a Cuckoo and Mata, and I'm supposed to be the shutdown pair, I'm nervous with the way this guy is flying in Edmonton right now.
They got shot out of a cannon to start the season, and he was on fire. Draisaitl had an MVP year. So if they get that good start that you talk about in a best of five, they could carry this thing for a while.
You know what's one of the best thing that's happened to the Edmonton Oilers, okay? Look, Kenny Holland going there was a good move, Tippett going in, but how many years have you and I talked about McDavid and Draisaitl being on the same line? And how many times did we say, eventually it's got to be number one and number two, so you've got the Malkin Crosby model in Edmonton. And you know what it is now? Tippett didn't fool around with it. He went McDavid, Draisaitl. And luckily, Cassian found his game to fit in. Neil came in. Yamamoto became a player with Draisaitl. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins moves to the wing. All of a sudden, they got a different looking top six. But breaking up that combo has changed that team. And that makes them a threat for anybody they play against, Nick.
And for the first time in quite a while, Nugent-Hopkins looks so comfortable.
Big time.
And whether or not you want to put him in the middle or on the wing, I don't think it matters to him because his hockey IQ is so good that he's going to contribute. But he's really found a nice home there now behind McDavid and Draisaitl. And you mentioned, Zach Cassian. Is Zach now a true power forward now in the game? Because before it was dumb and stupid and can't play and goon. And now we're talking about a guy that is a major contributor to this hockey club.
This is a guy that came back from a couple of funny, bad suspensions and gets an opportunity to play with McDavid. Imagine if you're a player like Cassian and you get an opportunity to play with McDavid. How many careers is he going to make in his guy gets 15 goals this past year. He's a tough guy. He's a bit of the old school protector type. And all of a sudden, yesterday, Nugent Hopkins was on the wing with him. We'll see where that goes. He's been with Draisaitl and Yamamoto all at the end of last season. So those two lines look like they could be interesting. So Cassian is an important guy all of a sudden, big time important guy. And I wouldn't have believed it, Nick. A year ago, if you would have told me this, or a year and a half ago, I would have said, you're full of it. This guy will never get the job done that high in the lineup. I was wrong on that. He's got it done.
He was a first-round pick, though. I mean, somebody saw something somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It was more than just what people had a feeling a couple of years ago on him. He had more to give. So it's nice. It's really nice. Now, this is where it gets tricky for me. And I like these guys, Klefbom, Nurse, Larson, Bear, but not elite, Mac. Not high end. Not one high-end guy back there. So when does it kind of catch up? Or is that a strong enough four to win a couple of rounds?
Well, that's a real question. Like Klefbom's, had people thought he was going to be a better defenseman. He's been. Larson, obviously, it was perceived to be a superstar in the league when he was, number 3 overall in New Jersey, traded for Taylor Hall. Has been good, but not great. Like you say, Nurse, is he ready to take the big step? I mean, the kid that's come in, their first-round pick, who has been unbelievable the way he's performed, can he be a teenager and get it done? I have my doubts, but he may be the next big guy
Bouchard,
for them.
You're speaking of Bouchard?
No, not Bouchard. The Swedish first-round pick. The kid you absolutely rave about.
Yes, Broberg.
Yeah. I mean, he's the guy that could – is he a difference maker? But how do you do that at 19? But you're 100% right. The defense is questionable. Chicago's defense is questionable. Edmonton's defense, to me, should be better than Chicago's by a little bit. Can the Edmonton Oilers defend? We know what they're going to bring offensively. We know the speed they're going to come with. We know the chances they're going to create. But can they defend? Not to mention Edmonton with a 30%, 29.5% power play. Where's that going to come into play in the playoffs? So, you know what? To me, Edmonton looked pretty good, but it'll be interesting. They still have some tests to pass because you're going against an experienced group.
Okay, so it's like the Montreal Canadiens, like the Chicago Blackhawks in that it's go big or go home. Edmonton, you assume Koskinen, or can Cam Talbot,
Smith.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Mike Smith. Yeah. Talbot's in Calgary. Yeah. Can Mike Smith, that's not an easy decision here, right?
No, because they platooned a lot, and a lot of people felt the platooning of Koskinen and Smith was real beneficial as the season was progressing. Unfortunately, we didn't get to find out. We will now. I've got to believe they go with Smith to start this series. After watching him play in Calgary against Colorado, Nick, how good was he in that series? Yeah. Smith he's the only reason Calgary were even close in that series. So at 38 years of age, can he get the job done? If he stumbles, Koskinen's going in, and they like Koskinen.
I'm with you. I like the experience.
It's going to be an interesting matchup there.
I like Mike Smith's experience, and
for sure.
Listen, if he handles the puck 10 times, can he cough it up once or twice? 80%, 90%. You like those odds, or in an empty building where the ice might get a little chippy after two teams have beaten it up? Would you tell him just stay in the net and relax?
Telling Mike Smith to stay in the net is like telling you're not going to be an insider anymore.
No. I like that. I don't want to be one.
Smitty is going to move the puck. He's going to do everything he can to move it, and he's going to make some mistakes. There's no denying that. This has the makings, to me, with the personnel we've talked about, of being a series that could very well be high scoring because of the goaltending.
So who do you like? We got to go Edmonton.
I'm picking Edmonton to win the series, and I think it's going to be a closer series than a lot of people think. But I'm going with Connor and Draisaitl.
Yeah, I can't. I want to be able to give Chicago a lot of credit. Maybe I am by saying that this has a chance to go 5 games. I just, it's funny that we have not mentioned Patrick Kane once during this conversation, which he's, first of all, he's a big fan of the show. We know that. But come on, you have to sit there and go, a team that has Patrick Kane on it will always have a chance to win. Always.
And Nick, if Chicago keep it close, if Chicago keep it 3-3, 2-2, 4-4, with getting to the last couple of minutes of the game, you know that Patrick Kane is capable of ending it for the Edmonton Oilers. That's how good he is. That's how good he's been. He is one of the great players of our game in the last 10 years. He has been special. So that's why you're always a little nervous to write off Chicago.
Well, in specialty teams, right? How disciplined does Edmonton have to be? You don't want Pat Kane on a power play too often in a hockey game.
That's
that
for
is
sure.
Really dangerous. So I've got Edmonton in 5, Mac.
Yeah, and I'm taking Edmonton, and I'm taking them in 5 as well. I think people, the management people in Edmonton, are a touch nervous because of the mystique of the guys we talked about: Kane, Taves, Keith. They're still winners. Crawford, Seabrook. They're still winners. So it'll be interesting.
So this is how competitive I heard that the teams are already, that we still have less than 6 days to go here.
Right.
And the teams on Sunday were fighting over who had the better time slot on a charter. Because apparently some teams thought that they could all just fly in whenever they wanted to fly in. And then there's no, that's not the way it works in COVID. And you got to be cleared and you got to have a certain amount of time. So there were some teams ticked off Sunday that they had a late arrival time that really put them behind the 8 ball. Would you have been a guy as a general manager under these scenarios would be complaining about a chartered time slot?
Most definitely I would have been. That's how goofy the GM job makes you, that you really get upset about those things. Or if a charter is late, or if the fillet isn't cooked properly, or the red wine isn't the way you expect it dry enough. Those are big issues.
Now, I would have bet that you wouldn't have chartered in anyways. You would have brought your new RV.
Yes, exactly. I have to take it for a test drive today because having it next to the salt water makes the mechanics. So I've got to take it for a little run. So I've got to do a wine and beer run to Borden PEI after this show, and I'm going to take the RV up just to give it a little test run.
Why is it when I think of you in an RV, I instantly think of
Chevy Chase?
Yeah, Chevy Chase and his brother-in-law pulling up, and then you dumping crap in the sewer.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good. Did you think about that when you bought the thing?
Well, I
actually
bought
had
a pair
to
of
clean
yellow
crap out of it.
I got Crocs. I got a pair of yellow Crocs to do those jobs with,
Hey, pretty good day for you today.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and just, keep it going here. We've got exhibition games starting tomorrow night.
You know
the
what?
likes of Toronto and Montreal, Winnipeg and Calgary, Pittsburgh and Philly, actual exhibition games. But I can tell you, nobody's had a better training camp than you, Doug Maclean, on the Real Kyper at Noon show.
I know. And you know what's bizarre is I disappeared for a year. And all of a sudden, I am getting offer after offer for jobs because of the notoriety I've gained from being a guest on the Real Kyper at Noon show. So it's kind of exciting in my career right now, some of the opportunities that are being presented to me.
Are you leaking information to better set up your negotiation? Is that what's happening here?
You know me better than that.
Hey.
You know me better than that.
You leak it to Elliott or Drager. Let them get that news out because, you can't tell it to me because I already know.
I'm not a
plan
leaker.
is.
I'm not a leaker.
You leak. That's what you do. You're just constantly leaking.
Exactly.
Listen, we're doing this all week, okay? We're just getting started. We're going to go through the other series. Do your homework, make your calls, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good, man.
All right, that's it for this Monday. Our thanks to Doug Maclean for helping us tee up a couple of series. Tomorrow we'll do the same with the likes of Carolina and the New York Rangers, Winnipeg, and Calgary. And if you liked what you saw, you liked what you heard, leave us some comments down below. And oh, by the way, we are now on Apple Podcasts. Please, if you get a chance, please give us a rating and review. I hope you like what you've been hearing on the Real Kyper at Noon show. I'm Nick Kyprios. We'll see you tomorrow.